Welcome to It's Your Life, Just Get It Done Now, with hosts Joyce Wheeler and Krista Nelson, who will empower you to live a happy, healthy, natural life. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
This is Joyce Wheeler with It's Your Life, Just Get It Done Now, and my co-host, Krista Nelson. Today is February, wow. Today is December 18th. Let's push it up, why don't we? And, so Krista, you there?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like the time is flying by, but February is a little bit of a jump.
Well, you know, the thing is, we're working on the magazine right now, and it's the February-March issue.
Yeah, you're always ahead.
Yeah, sometimes I get my month confused because I was going, wow, where'd the February come from? And it's like, well, I'm in February, March right now with the magazine and working on that. And speaking of the magazine, is that what we're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah, we are currently in the December-January issue. And
right.
I don't know, where are we experiencing snowfalls anywhere in the United States? We've got this big photo spread, you know, the cover's about rheumatoid arthritis. We're going to talk about that, main story in a second. But I was just looking through the magazine and there's that big photo of the winter wonderland. A couple years back, we had a huge snowfall here in Philadelphia. I don't know who's having snow right now. We're in the middle of December.
I don't know, but I'll tell you something, Krista. I haven't seen snow in 5 years, and this picture makes me miss it. I'm like, oh, snow. I'll tell you something. Last year, was it last year or the year before, the boys were missing snow. And I wanted to kind of help them with that.
Yeah.
So I had this idea to take the white garbage bags we have and stuff them with leaves and make a snowman. If looks could kill, I would have been dead. They were like, don't even joke about that.
They're like, oh, not quite the same thing.
No, but it's like, come on, guys, you know?
I guess not. You know, I mean, and as a writer, sometimes I think of like how to create it with words, a feeling like, you know, building a snowman. And there's certain aspects of snow that are really hard to capture with words, you know, like the way it sounds underfoot when you've got that big flaky kind of snow that crunches down under your feet. How do you actually, what's the word for the right kind of crunch for that? You know, these are things I struggle with. Like, how can I really bring you into a snow scene just with words?
You know, I don't know if you can do that if somebody has never experienced snow. You know, because you're talking about the sound it makes underfoot, and I can hear it and I can feel it because I know what you're talking about.
Because you've been there, done that.
Yeah, right.
That experience.
You know, and then the fact that there's different types of snow. You know, not all snow is the crunchy snow. You've got that wet snow, that wet, slushy snow.
Yeah, the slushy snow. Or you've got that snow that at night it's all twinkly, like under the street lights, the one that's real fluffy and soft.
That's what I miss. That's what I miss. Is having that fresh snow and looking out the window and it like sparkles like diamonds on the ground.
Yeah, it's like,
and it's all undisturbed. Nobody's walked on it.
Yeah, undisturbed snowfall. Really beautiful.
Totally.
Really beautiful.
And, you know, I thought when I moved to the South, I didn't think I'd miss the snow. But I do miss it. I even miss shoveling.
You know, shoveling, two things I like about shoveling. Well, maybe three. One, you can get a little workout, you know, shoveling.
Yes, there you go.
It brings the neighbors out together if you have neighbors, you know.
True.
Everyone's out brushing their cars off or just shoveling their walkway and gives you a chance to say, hi, how you doing, you know.
That's true.
And then there were times when I would shovel, especially like when it was starting to get dark. Maybe it had snowed all day. It's finally stopped. You come out, the sky would be clear, lots of stars. and you're shoveling, you kind of like get warm shoveling, so you don't mind being out there in the cold.
Right.
And
Right.
it's just beautiful, just quiet, still.
Yes.
I guess it's, why is it more quiet when there's snow? Is it because you can't hear the cars in the streets or something? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
Because
it's like hush.
When you were talking about it too, another thing that it was reminding me of, like in Chicago, when we would have a good snow, we had the plows that would come through, and they would plow what we called the main streets, but they wouldn't do the side streets.
Right.
And I remember when I was a kid, we had some good snowfall. I mean, if it was, I remember walking to school when there was a foot or more of snow on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But if it got too bad and like the teachers couldn't make it in, we would get to stay at home.
Snow
there
day.
would be some, yeah, those were a blast, and we tunneled through that. But there would be people who would be trying to go out, and they'd get stuck at the corner. And us kids thought it was a blast to go and push them out. It was
yeah. Right.
That was one. That's another thing too. Is you got people helping each other.
Yeah. To get a chance to do a good deed, around the holiday season too. It's like you're pushing people out, digging people out. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. And I think there's something about hardship that can bring out the best in people and give you a chance to really feel like your best self.
Isn't it kind of horrible that we have to get to that point? Why can't we be the best all the time?
I know, but maybe that's what it's for. Maybe that's what hardship is for. I mean, I'd rather never have hardship, but my son made a comment once about my cooking. He said, boy, when mom's upset, boy, the food's going to taste great. Something about wanting to make things better. Like maybe sometimes you just go a little further, reach a little higher, dig a little deeper when things aren't optimum. What do you think about that?
I'm sorry, I was just distracted by my son.
Oh, another son. Maybe he wants you to cook for him too. But
no, actually, they ordered pizza yesterday, and
right.
Usually I do not eat pizza.
Yeah.
But it was tempting me. It was calling my name. It was saying,
right.
Come and eat me.
I
Come
definitely
on.
like pizza.
So, and I'll tell you, it's like the one thing that has always tasted the same. Everything else since I changed my eating habits, nothing else tastes the same. I'll eat it and I'll be like, yuck, I used to eat this stuff except for pizza.
Yeah.
So I landed up having one piece. I was like, I will just have one piece, satisfy my craving for it, get it out of the way. Right. And then I ended up eating two. So he came in the kitchen not knowing we were doing the podcast and was going, you're right. You can't eat just one piece.
You just mentioned something that's really interesting because we've had a lot of guests on talking about changing their eating habits, for healthy reasons. Right. And we haven't talked about like what that's like in the beginning when maybe you really don't like what the taste of things and what you miss certain things.
Oh my gosh, I would tell you something, Krista.
Yeah.
When I changed my eating habits, my mouth would literally water when I went to the checkout counter at the store, looking at the M&Ms and Snickers, which was
really.
Yes, it took me a year to be able to look at them and not be like, oh, I want that. I so want that.
Yeah. So what kept you from giving in? I mean, there you are with like, everything in you wanting like, why didn't you give in, like take a bite? Like, what is it that makes people stick to a new regimen even when everything in their body is saying, I want the cheeseburger,
Because one thing I learned about myself and that actually contributed to a partial eating disorder was that when I would start eating, I couldn't stop. I would just keep going. I didn't know how to stop myself. Even if I was full, I would still continue to eat because it tastes so good.
Taste is good. Yeah. We've all probably had that experience of eating past, we're not hungry,
Right.
but we just like it.
And especially around the holidays. And the thing was, is I had gotten to the point, I was 17, it got to the point that I couldn't put my jeans on by myself. I used to have to lay down on the bed, pull the zipper part together, and have my mom zip up my pants for me.
Yeah, you did tell me that before.
Yeah. And she was like, you need new jeans. And I was like, no, I need to lose some weight. And it was too, I was seeing the difference in my body, seeing the difference in not just how I looked, but how I felt. And so that was keeping me on track to.
Oh, so you were getting some positive feedback. And so the positive was stronger than the negative.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I like the way I look. Oh my gosh, I want that Snickers bar. But so one side beat the other.
Right, but it wasn't just about the way I looked, it was the way I felt. I had more energy. Like before, if I ate something and I was sitting and watching TV, I would leave the plate there for when I had to get up,
Yeah.
But once I took off the weight, I would make the effort to actually get up, take the plate and bring it into the kitchen, even though I wasn't getting up to do anything else.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I had more energy.
Well, back to so you were saying, how when we change our eating habits, right, and we don't, the new things that we're eating, we don't love them as much as the old things, but now you've brought up this key point that we love something else, like how we feel. And so that keeps us going. And then we notice that we don't even want those old things anymore. Some of my eating habits have changed. One of the places I love to go in Philadelphia is the Reading Terminal Market. And I went there the other day, and my focus lately has been more on organic foods and healthy processing. Yeah, I mean, here I am with It's Your Life magazine, right? I mean, I'm reading the articles and talking with people. I'm very happy right now. I'm sort of surrounded by people who are really looking to make conscious decisions about where their food comes from. And I walk into the Reading Terminal Market, and I find that the only stand that I really want to stop at is it's called Fair Food Farmers, Farm to Market, I think it's called. And that's the organization that revitalized the farmers markets here in Philadelphia. And it's, I was looking at all of their food and I thought, wow, it's interesting how when you become educated about something, you can really change your mind about what you desire,
So since you've been eating more organic food, do you notice a difference in the way that you feel, your energy, anything? Well,
I haven't said this out loud to anybody, but yeah, I think there's a real difference. I mean, when I first started eating more organic foods, I actually felt kind of sick at first.
Really?
And I felt bad about that because it's like, what does this mean? Why do I feel, I thought I was already eating healthy foods. But when I started eating organic foods, I started feeling kind of sick initially. And, I think that it was the variety. I don't know. But maybe I just had to get used to it. I think my body just, was rejecting it at first.
Right,
I had to get used to it.
It sounds like a detox process, actually, to me.
Yeah. I've heard about people get sick or they start to break out or, the toxins are coming out. And I think that's what was happening with me. And now I'm fine. I don't feel sick, but I am starting to feel just a preference. I have a new desire for more varieties of vegetables, a new interest in the way vegetables can be prepared. And that's not, I don't know if that has a lot to do with the organic, but it might, that's a lot of what I'm eating. Turning less to pastas, I know that we weren't going to make this into a whole conversation about food, but it's easy to go there, isn't it?
Well, and see, that's the thing is that, we'll just go with the flow and that's okay.
Yeah, it's easy to go with the food. So, yeah, so I think that's really interesting how sometimes, you start on a new healthy regimen and you're not crazy about it, but you are crazy about something else, like how you feel or how you look or like new energy. And,
right.
And how on the back end you start to not desire the things that you desired before. And maybe partly might be your taste buds are changing. Some of it might be the information you have about like how they're slaughtering these animals or how these foods are being prepared or how they're genetically modified, and you just don't want to put that into your body anymore.
So let me ask you this. Do you notice a difference in the taste?
Well, because I'm not switching back and forth, I just know that the food I'm eating now, maybe I don't know if I have more respect for it or if I'm paying more closer attention. When I'm eating something, when you're doing something deliberately, maybe I'm just paying more attention to it. I'm actually when I'm eating, I'm like focused on what I'm eating and I can appreciate it better. So I really am enjoying what I'm eating now. More than I ever have before.
So your organic foods, is it mainly vegetables? What else are you eating that's organic?
I am having organically raised chicken meats, but I don't prefer them to the vegetables right now. I feel that I'm getting more satisfaction from the vegetables.
Really?
One of the things that I've discovered that I didn't grow up eating, and now I've come to get to know is the variety of squashes. Is it
really?
squash?
Me too.
Oh my gosh, I'm so in love with kabocha. Kabocha squash and buttercup squash.
Spaghetti
squash. Oh my goodness, so good, so incredibly good.
I had spaghetti squash for the first time. And
yeah.
I really didn't know what to do with it. A friend of mine who makes it, she uses it like spaghetti. Instead of noodles, she uses it like spaghetti. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something different.
Different? Yeah.
So I browsed the internet and found some inspiration. Somebody had made fritters with it using quinoa and the spaghetti squash. So I was like, oh, that's not a bad idea. So I went ahead and eggs. I wanted to put it in eggs for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
So I was actually thinking like a quiche originally.
Mm-hmm.
But I found this for fritters. So I went and I took 4 eggs. I took some of the spaghetti squash, and I had some quinoa with kale. I put that in there.
Yeah.
And 3 tablespoons of gluten-free flour. And then I seasoned it with sea salt, of course, pepper, chives, dillweed, minced onion, and minced garlic. And I mixed it all together. Mm-hmm. And it was so, so good. But you know what it reminded me of? Potato pancakes. Have you ever had potato pancakes?
I have. Yeah.
Do you eat them with applesauce or sour cream or plain?
Okay, so when I think of potato pancakes, we might have 2 different recipe ideas here. What I do is I take leftover mashed potatoes and fry them up, in a frying pan. And that's what I'm calling a potato pancake. And I don't eat them with anything. They're so good just by themselves with, maybe cooked a little bit of butter and a little salt. So good.
Well, I grew up with them because my heritage is mainly Polish. And although there's a lot of the European countries that do create a potato pancake, the way I grew up eating them was that the potatoes were shredded, and then they were seasoned, mixed together, and then put in a pan. It was very simple, very simple. Put in a pan and browned up, almost like hash browns. If you took hash browns and clumped them together and then fried them up. But we always ate them, the Polish anyway, eat them with either applesauce or sour cream. I always did applesauce.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's really, really yummy. So both
I love potatoes. quite
I do too, and I love that they're so versatile.
They're so versatile. So one of the things that I have discovered is the sweet potato. Okay, all right. So yeah, I didn't just discover the sweet potato, but I've been having sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving and Christmas, like a candied sweet.
Uh-huh.
And the white potato year round. Mashed potatoes, home fries, French fries, scalloped potatoes, baked potato, right? But just recently I've been experimenting with the Japanese sweet potato.
Oh.
Mashed, and the Japanese sweet potato is white, like the white potato. The flesh is white, but it's very sweet and just absolutely delicious. My favorite right now though is just to roast the yellow sweet potato, like the yam or the garnet sweet potato, and roast it in the oven. And, it's just so good. All the sweetness comes out if you roast it for a very long time. And you don't need to add all that sugar and butter. That's what I was doing. Thanksgiving, that was like one of my big signature dishes, with this candied
cinnamon.
Sweet. Yeah. Oh, I still like the cinnamon. But I don't need all the butter and sugar to get the sweetness. Oh my gosh, sweet potatoes.
Well, you know what you could do? What you could do is, if you do want a little sweetness, you could use honey or use some maple syrup.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't even need it. If you roast them long enough, it's like,
Oh, okay.
The sweetness of the potato just, oh my gosh, you don't need anything, but a little cinnamon is nice.
You know what I've been seeing around lately is purple sweet potatoes.
I haven't had those. Are they really, how do
I don't know. I haven't even seen them around. Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, she's got some for sale.
The purple, it's a purple sweet potato. Now, is there a purple white potato? If that makes sense. Is there like a purple potato and then a purple sweet potato?
I don't know. There's so many different varieties of potatoes, it's hard to tell. But then, not only did I see that Mary had posted on Facebook about her carrying the purple sweet potatoes, I was looking on Real Food Fridays, the link up that I host,
right.
And somebody posted a recipe for purple sweet potato sugar cookies.
Purple sweet potato sugar cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you look at the recipe?
Yes, I did.
So, do you remember any of it? Like, what do you do? Like,
you know what? I closed out of it. The girl who does it, Sunshine and Strength is the name of her blog. And she's a college student. And I've visited her blog quite often, and she posts on Real Food Fridays on a regular basis. And she doesn't do any flour or gluten, so she uses like arrowroot powder.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what else was there. And when I saw the ingredients, I just went, okay, I'm out. Because I just don't have a lot of that stuff. And I do have it, but I'm not sure how to use it. Like coconut flour. I bought some coconut flour. Yeah. And I wanted to make some bread, and we have a bread maker. Uh-huh. So I went and I made it. It crumbled all to bits. Later, I found out that coconut flour absorbs liquid a lot faster and absorbs more liquid than regular flour.
So you need to use more liquid with that recipe?
Or less flour.
Less flour, right.
So I'm not sure how to use all these ingredients. So I've just kind of shied away from them. And with, being so busy with the magazine and now with the Heavenly Bodies products, I don't have time to really do what I would like to do as far as cooking and baking goes. I'd like to experiment more, but I just kind of all I saw was arrowroot powder, and I went, I'm out of here.
So, what's that? Could you give that address again for like the Food Fridays and the link up?
Oh, that's on my blog. yourlife7.blogspot.com. That's Real Food Fridays. I know Colleen's visited there. Colleen, you might want to stop by there again. There's some good stuff up there, including the purple sweet potato sugar cookies.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And of course, I love food, so.
We love food.
Don't we all?
How does the link up work? Like, what do I do with the link up?
What do you mean, what do you do with it?
Like, how does that work? If other people want to get involved, like, what do they do?
Well, if you have a blog and you blog, our link up is strictly real food.
Okay.
So it's no GMOs, none of the garbage stuff. It's got to be organic. And if you have a blog and you have, or even if you like our organic gardening, or have a story about how your health changed from eating GMOs to eating organic, you could put that up too. So there's a little linky button.
A linky button.
A linky button. That's why it's called a link up, because you go to Linky. Actually, it's linky.com is where you go to get these buttons.
Got it.
And it's a button, and it's at the bottom of you'll see a bunch of images of different things with a description, like the sweet potato sugar cookies. Mm-hmm. And you could just click on it and it'll take you to that person's blog. But if you want to link up yourself, then you just click on the linky, or sometimes it says you're next or something. Usually it's blue with white letters. And you just click on there, and then it takes you to a form where you put the address for the post that you want to put up, for the blog post you want to put up. You put that in there. You put the title of the post. It asks for your email. That's optional. Your name is optional. And then it prompts you for an image, to say, like, do you want it from your website, from your computer, whatever. And then you just go ahead and click on that, and then you submit, and there you go. It's all done. They're actually very fun, very addicting. It's a great way to promote your blog for free. Yeah. And there's various blogs out there, and if anybody who's listening it has a blog and wants to be like, oh, I didn't know about this, I want to do this.
Right.
All you have to do is a Google search, like today, if I wanted to look for, and they're also called blog hops because you hop around to different blogs, and they do have rules that they, most of the time. Like, they'll have some that are specific. Like, there's some link ups and blog hops that are just food oriented. Some are just DIYs. Others are like Mary has one. I used to host it with her, Tuesdays with a Twist. It's no rules. So it's like you can link up to whatever you want. Some tell you can't link up giveaways or other link ups. And I think that's really bogus. I'm like, really? You can't link up a link up? And I went to one link up today. And they said, if you follow somebody back and they don't follow you within a week, don't follow them anymore. And I was like, what? Did you really just go there?
So if I take my blog and I want to link up, do I have to I can go to your blog, hit your little link up button, and then it'll link to my blog? Is it kind of like that simple?
No, like I said, you go to it, like if you have a food post that you want to link up, you click on the link up button, and then a form comes up where you put the URL and the name of the blog post, your email and name if you want to. I do it because most of the time it's used to notify you when a new party has started.
And then what do I wind up with? Like what do readers see? Like a whole bunch of blogs that are kind of linked together?
No. Did you ever see the link up on my blog?
I thought I did, but I wonder what's the final result? Like once you've linked your blog to another using these little buttons, you fill out that form. What do you wind up with, and what do readers wind up getting?
Well, see, the thing is it's a way to promote your blog and to get other bloggers to come over to your blog and read your blog and to start following you.
Right.
Because bloggers are a community. That's how I met Mary. That's how I met Nancy. I met Nancy through blogging. Marla, I met her on LinkedIn, but she didn't know about the blog hops and link ups, and I told her about them.
Right. He told me about it. Maybe we should do a whole show one time on blogging. Because there's more to it than meets the eye. A
lot more to it.
And like you said, just about this whole community of bloggers. Like I'll post my blog and I'll get maybe some comments or I'll get some other bloggers that follow. But I really haven't gotten involved with the link up. and
they're addicting, and they're time consuming. Yeah, so I had a warning. I had to get to the point, like Thursday night is when like a lot of blog hops and link ups start, at least the ones that I participate in.
Yeah.
So I've like put aside Thursday as my blogging day, but I've been so busy lately I haven't done that. And so actually today I wrote a blog and I went and I partied. Partied this afternoon. So, but it gets time consuming because you have to like this one blog hop. They had like 500 other bloggers, blog posts, because you can link up. Some of them have rules, and they'll tell you you can only you can link up 3 posts. So I could go in there and I can link up 3 posts. So altogether, they landed up with like 500 posts from bloggers.
Wow.
But it gets time consuming because one of the rules is that if you link up, you have to visit somebody else's blog and leave a comment.
Okay.
Well, some of them say visit 3 blogs, and I'm just like, no. But yeah. I will visit one blog. So I look for something that I'm interested in. And then I go ahead and I always leave my comment and tell them what party I followed them there from. Because I want to know where my readers are coming from.
Right.
If you found me at a blog hop or a link up, I want to know which one, And
yeah.
Other bloggers don't do that, but I do.
And so you've built relationships, and some of the bloggers that you've been connected to also wind up contributing to the magazine. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met Dr. Jennifer Weinberg. I met her through a blog hop.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what about, I was just looking back at the magazine, and after that photo that I shot of the winter scene, we've got an article about, it's food related, and it's about loving chocolate. Marley Gates.
Another blogger.
You met her. Okay. Did you meet her through blogging?
I met her on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then I told her about the blog hops.
Well,
and now I see her all over the place. She's a blog hopping maniac.
Blog hopping. Well, this article of hers in the magazine about, it's okay to love chocolate is pretty cool, talking about how chocolate can supply our bodies with potassium and phosphorus, zinc, and vitamins.
But that's dark chocolate.
A little dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Keep you healthy, right?
Yeah,
Vitamin
and unfortunately, I'm not really big on dark chocolate.
Yeah.
But I do like it with coconut, like the Almond Joy or the Mounds.
Right, you like that?
Yeah, and I like it like with raspberry, like with different fillings in it. I'll eat dark chocolate like that. But dark chocolate by itself, yuck, no.
Well, in her article, she talks about dark chocolate being linked to like 40 different health benefits. It's definitely an article that people should check out.
Choke out.
Don't choke on your chocolate. It's informative. There's a little bit of science in it. She talks about the antioxidant quality, the aspect of caffeine, and the different health benefits, lowering the risk of cardiovascular disease and others. So it's very informative, and you just kind of want to drool over it because there's also photos of chocolate covered strawberries and
yes, now that is good.
Chocolate bark. So that's like really, really lovely. That's very cool.
I'm just thinking, do you remember when we were kids, or I don't know if you ever had this, but they used to sell the ice cream cones with a hard dark chocolate covering?
No, I can't say I've ever had one of those.
Maybe it was just Chicago that did that?
Chicago?
How about you, Colleen? Colleen, you know what I'm talking about?
What's that? Dark chocolate what?
An ice
cream cone
dipped in chocolate.
Well,
It
yeah.
was dipped in chocolate and it got the hard shell.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, we used to get those all the time when we were kids.
Although, Colleen, did you grow up in Indiana, Colleen?
Yes.
Yeah, and see, Indiana and Illinois were neighbors.
Yep.
Maybe it's a northern thing?
I don't know. Maybe I just didn't go to the right ice cream parlors.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Then you can put your peanuts and stuff while the chocolate's still kind of soft. Put your peanuts on top. And then it kind of solidifies in there and pretty darn yummy. It's like drumsticks. Have you heard,
Oh, yeah, drumstick.
Yeah, only it's not flat like they make the drumsticks. It's pretty good.
You were deprived, Krista.
Wait, Colleen, is there chocolate on the ice cream or on the cone?
Well, it's on the ice cream, and then it kind of drips down the cone just a little bit till it gets hard.
Okay. And Joyce, are you talking about chocolate on the cone?
No, I'm talking about what Colleen's talking about.
On the ice cream?
Yep.
Oh, all right. When you first presented this, I had envisioned the cone dipped in a chocolate coating.
Oh, that would be nice.
I said, no, I haven't had that. I thought that was kind of a newer thing. So now we're all on the same page. And of course, yes, I've had ice cream with the chocolate sauce on an ice cream cone. I mean, or even like the chocolate sundae kind of feeling,
Right.
I mean, wow, how lovely is chocolate with ice cream?
Totally. Just chocolate with anything is lovely.
Well, you can do that same chocolate that they put on the soft swirl, that hardens. Yeah. I've made that also and drizzled it over my homemade yogurt with some peanuts. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to go by Colleen's house and eat.
Well, so here we are with, we're in the middle of the holiday season and lots of chocolate come out and other things come out, lots of sugar come out, lots of fats come out, lots of pastry. There's an article in our current issue of the magazine from Dr. Jennifer Weinberg, who you just mentioned, right? She was a fellow blogger?
Yeah, I met her at a blog hop.
Okay, so she has an article in the magazine, 4 Steps to Stay Healthy during holiday travel. So, one of her steps, she says, is avoid getting hungry. So, having a little snack or a little treat before you go to that holiday party.
I think what she's talking about is eat before you go on the road. And I can relate to this because we traveled was it last year or 2 years ago? Anyway, we traveled back to Tennessee when Randy's son was graduating college. And we had a problem finding organic food. Yeah, we brought a lot of stuff. We drove there, so we brought a lot of our own food. But, that kind of dwindles down, and we needed to replenish. So we had a hard time finding any kind of organic food or anything that we were willing to eat.
Right.
So
I could see, or you're on a plane, or you're traveling because you're visiting people for the holidays. So there's a lot of really good tips in here. I'm taking a look at it now, and so staying hydrated is an issue.
That's one reason that we started the page on itsyourlifemag.com website, Places to Eat.
Yeah,
it has all different various organic restaurants around the country. And we have called, Randy did most of it, but we have called every single one of them. And not all of them are 100% organic, but the important thing for us was the transparency of, that they would tell us what was in their food, whether or not it was organic. And also the important thing was, can we come in there and get a full organic meal? Because some of the restaurants that are on the internet are labeled as organic, but we call them and it's like, no, you cannot come into the restaurant and get a full organic meal. Okay, so you're saying I can order the sandwich and the only thing on it that's going to be organic is the lettuce? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the point?
Mm-hmm. So, So what do you recommend for people who are traveling? How do they have to bring their food with them, or?
Well, if you can, if you're traveling on a plane or a train, it might be a little bit harder. I don't know what all the rules are. Mm-hmm. I know when I took my kids to Hawaii, we packed snacks. We had backpacks, and I packed food in their backpacks.
Right.
So, if you are able to, definitely you want to eat before you leave. And then I would just pack some healthy snacks, your organic, some carrot sticks and, some kind of dip to dip it in, because I don't like eat just plain carrot sticks.
Well, in the article, some of the recommended, travel snacks, fruit and veggies, like you just mentioned, but also
the hummus.
The hummus, the cooked quinoa, millet, buckwheat, right?
Buckwheat with chopped veggies and herbs.
I'll tell you something. It reminds me, we were traveling. It wasn't holiday travel, but we were traveling from Philadelphia to Wisconsin. When I was a kid, we were taking my sister to college. She was going off to college in Beloit, Wisconsin. And my mother had packed, little bags of snacks I have 3 other siblings. So we had this station wagon, a country squire, with the wood paneling on the sides.
Yep, I remember them.
So we were camping our way. So we had the tents on the top of the station wagon, and we had all of our supplies in the back, and the kids, we sat on the bench seat, in the station wagon, and we all had our own little snack bags to keep us happy, content. And I remember that, my mother had made these chocolate chip cookies along with some other goodies in the bag. There weren't a lot of vegetables in that bag, though, I can tell you. But there were sticks of spearmint gum, and everything in the bag tasted like spearmint gum.
Wow, I could see that. So your apple slices tasted like spearmint gum apple slices.
It's like, quite not really the ideal, but, that's what my mom did. Made us all, busy, even if, it wasn't optimum, but, we had our little snacks. We didn't stop on the road and get any kind of fast food or anything like that, that's for sure.
Yeah, see, we used to, travel. My first husband, his parents are from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So once a year, what we would do is we would stop in Wisconsin Dells for a night and stay there, because I don't know if you've ever been to Wisconsin Dells.
I have, as a matter of fact, just a few years ago. Just like 2 years ago, for the first time ever. Had a wonderful time in Wisconsin Dells.
Then you know that, like, all the hotels, like, have indoor water parks.
Oh, awesome. Awesome water parks.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. It's really funny, too, because here that's up in the north, where it gets cold.
I know.
And you don't find stuff like that here in the south, where it's, like, hot.
You don't have a bunch of water parks down there?
No.
It's not something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the indoor water parks, outdoor water parks, everything.
Even in Tennessee, there's some, but there are more water parks, I find, in the Wisconsin Dells. They're all over the place.
They're all over the place. They're wonderful.
Yeah. And even in Chicago, there were multiple places.
Wow. They're really exciting when I think about it. Like, they're terrifying. I mean, some of the rides are just, like, terrifying.
Tell me about it. My daughter, begged me to go on this one. It was, it was like a roller coaster, but it was on the tube. And she's like, "Oh, come on, Mom, come with me. It's fun."
Oh my gosh. A roller coaster, but you're in an inner tube on the water.
And I thought I was going to fly out of this thing.
Yeah.
And we got done, and I'm like, I am never going on that again. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah. Some of these things, you're in a tube in the dark. You can't see anything, and you're twisting around. You don't know what direction you're going up. You're going down. You're, like, shooting fast in the water.
There was one.
It spits you out.
Yeah, there was one that the kids went in. I had all my kids in swimming lessons, so I didn't worry about them in the water.
Yeah.
But there was this one that it was kind of, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a toilet bowl.
Yeah.
He went round and round on this thing and then dropped you like...
And it flushes you.
Yeah. I was like, that's crazy.
It is crazy. They are crazy. I mean, sometimes it's like when you're thinking back on it, you're more terrified than when you're actually in it, because you think back, you're like, oh my gosh, did I actually do that and I survived it? There was one where you had to climb a long series of steps, high, I don't know how high up.
And it is so funny. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. And then you plunge, like, you know, I don't know how fast you're going. You just like put your arms, cross your arms in front of you and close your eyes and just shoot down to the bottom. It's really scary, really thrilling, lots of fun, lots of water. I love it.
But what we used to do is we would spend the night in the Wisconsin Dells, and then we would head up to the Upper Peninsula. And each one of my kids had their own backpacks. They had their own stuff in there to keep them occupied on the trip.
Yeah.
And then they had their, like you were talking, their own snacks. We didn't stop either.
So much
fun. Did you go to Paul Bunyan's while you were there?
We didn't go to Paul Bunyan's. What is that?
It's a restaurant. What time of the year did you go?
Gosh, now if I could think of when we went.
Was it in the summertime or off season?
It must have been warm out, okay? It had to be warm out because we did do the outdoor parks. We were actually out on Lake Delton for a while. We took a pontoon boat out and watched a water show. Oh, you know what was really great? Joyce?
Yeah.
Oh. I got a little nervous there. The best thing of all was actually going on a motorboat down the Wisconsin River.
Was that the Ducks? Did you go on the Ducks?
No, it wasn't the Ducks.
Oh.
It was a jet boat. Complete experience. And the driver of the jet boat was completely insane. And we'd go at a fast speed, and then he'd turn the boat on a sharp angle, and we all felt like we were just going to fly out of the boat into the water, but we didn't. So it was like a thrill seekers ride. We sat in the front, we got completely wet. I love water. I love water play, so I love getting wet. And it was just gorgeous because the Wisconsin River, this part of it was flanked either side by these gorgeous rocks and then lots of pine trees.
Right.
It's beautiful. And the water itself is has a lot of tannin in it. It's like an orange brown color. It's like very, different. You get a lot of the boat driver, the captain gives you the history of the Wisconsin River and a lot of folklore and beauty, and then he speeds up and stops and turns on these sharp angles, and it's just a wonderful time. My goodness, can't wait to go again.
Another thing that I used to do when I was in Wisconsin Dells was buy my moccasins.
Yeah. Oh, did we get the best moccasins?
Yeah. I still get them from that same company. And I remember one time
so right.
When I was in Tennessee, it started coming into the cooler weather. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I needed some shoes, and I couldn't find anything I liked. And I'm like, why can't I find anything I liked? I was like, I was buying shoes before. What was I buying? Oh, I was buying moccasins. I went online. I went online and I looked for the company, which I believe is Matanka. I could be wrong, but that's who I get my moccasins from all the time.
Minnetonka?
Thank you, Colleen.
You're welcome.
I wish I knew the name of I had my two daughters with me, and they both got boots with like fringe, and
I had a few of those.
And they were the talk of their schools when they came back to Philadelphia and went to school with those boots. Nobody had those boots. I wish I knew the name of the company because those boots.
Colleen just said it.
Do you think that's what we had also? Minnetonka? I don't know. Are they the only ones?
Did they have little Circles on the sole of them.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Often the Minnetonkas have.
I'll ask my girls.
Little tiny circles. I mean, the entire sole is covered with them.
I don't remember any circles.
I don't know about that because I always get moccasins without a sole.
Oh.
I like because it gives me a sense of being barefooted.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want some of those. Oh my gosh, I totally want to go back. Wonderful little shops.
Yes.
Some incense that smelled like Fraser fir or something burning and oh.
But you could go online. That store's online because I found them online.
Okay.
And that's where I go to get my moccasins all the time. I like the soleless ones, the black soleless with the zipper on the back.
It's time to go shoe shopping. It sounds like.
No, go moccasin shopping.
Moccasin shopping.
I love moccasins.
Well, if you're going to go by car or something, take a look at the article in It's Your Life mag, the current article, 4 Steps to Stay Healthy During Holiday Travel, and, go and get your moccasins, but have a good time while you're traveling. One of the tips that Dr. Weinberg gives is that while you're seated, let's see what, it's something about like squeezing your butt muscles. Just so that you can, so you don't get cramped up and, let's see.
Right.
I
know when we would stop at the rest stops when we went to Tennessee, Randy and I would stretch.
Yeah. Well, she definitely, suggests stretching, even if just to keep moving, doing some sitting yoga, some simple stretches, head, neck rolls. But she also says if you're going to be in your seat for a long time, tense and release your leg and buttock muscles. Get up if you're flying. Stop,
I wonder if anybody would notice you were. I wonder if anybody would notice you were doing that.
Maybe by the look on your face, you might give it away.
Well, what is this person doing over here?
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, so it's a really good article, nicely written for tips. Tip number 4 is actually to relax. To make sure you get your rest, get some sleep, take a few minutes to yourself to meditate. We're always advocating meditation for like everything, holidays and beyond. Some deep breathing.
Because it's so good for you.
It is so good for you. And why is it that it's one of those things that we can just kind of forget to do?
Because we're not raised with it. Our society, it's not something that our society encourages you to do. Did you ever go to the doctor and the doctor say, you know what you need to do? I want you to go home and I want you to meditate at least 10 minutes every day.
Never.
Neither did mine.
Did anybody ever turn on TV and it's like the messages that we get sent, like, did you finish your meditation, honey? Like even, you're right. It's not the message that you were being sent. You don't get it in commercial media. You don't get that in school or from the doctor. Or no pharmaceutical company is going to say, meditate while you take this medicine so it'll really assimilate into your body faster.
Well, not only that, but meditation releases so many neurotransmitters, including the dopamine, which is similar to heroin and in a feel good, and also gives us a feel good feeling. And, there are some doctors who are telling patients with like chronic illnesses who are in pain to go ahead and meditate because it will release those neurotransmitters and it will relieve the pain. Also laughter. Laughter is really good for pain because it does the same thing. Releases those neurotransmitters. And for some reason I feel like I'm saying that wrong.
Neurotransmitter?
Yeah.
That sounded right to me. We're talking about medicine that we make all on our own, all by ourselves, right? I mean,
right.
It's, handy. We could do it right now if we wanted to.
Right. Well, the sad part about it though is like people who are taking medication, the pharmaceutical drugs, it actually prohibits your body from producing some of those neurotransmitters. it blocks it.
Great.
It also B12 and vitamin D. It makes it to where your body can't absorb it.
Even if you're taking a supplement?
If you're taking a pharmaceutical medication, you're taking a supplement. Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's not. But that's our society. It's health maintenance. They're not out to cure anybody.
Well, this article in the magazine with Dr. Jennifer Weinberg is really very helpful. There are a lot of links in it, and she's an expert in holistic approach to wellness. Just another great reason to open it. And she writes frequently for the magazine.
On a regular basis. She's been with us since the beginning. Somebody just made a comment on the chat and said it tells your brain tells your body that it doesn't need to make it anymore. And that's like what I told you yesterday. I had that toothache, and I haven't taken any ibuprofen in like 2 years, but it hurt so bad I needed to take something. And I told you I didn't like taking it because what it was doing was it was telling my brain not to send the pain signals to my body. So it's messing with the brain chemicals. And I don't like that. Luckily, I only had to take it for 2 days, so that's good.
One thing that we all want is the relief from pain. And so there are these methods. We talk about meditation, we talk about laughter, but if somebody says, well, just take this pill, just take the mega pill.
It's easy.
Drink it with some water. Yeah, it's like, just take my pain away. I mean, a lot of things that we do, good and bad, are to escape pain.
Right.
I'd love to have someone on talking about pain management, and maybe, why it's important to be able to feel pain. My mother is someone who's always had a very high tolerance for pain. She's in her 80s now, and she has, nearly crippling arthritis. And on the one hand, fortunately, she doesn't feel the pain of it. I mean, she's got stiffness and she needs help walking, but she's not in a lot of agonizing pain. On the other hand, if we don't feel the pain, we don't know when we need help. We don't get that signal from our body that's something, that we're in trouble and we need something to do something different,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, so that kind of, I don't know, it's sort of a tie back into what we had said earlier when we were talking about snow days and hardship and bad weather bringing out the good in people, about how sometimes a hardship, and now we're talking about sometimes a painful feeling, can lead to an improvement in your health, in your habits, in your actions, in your thoughts.
Well, I think that's if you're mindful of the fact that, we've been brainwashed to believe that the medical system is something that we need. And of course that goes back to the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, who actually started donating funds to these colleges. And then they said, well, look, we're giving you this money and we want you to use our curriculum.
Yeah,
so they developed the curriculum for these medical schools, and they little by little pushed out those that were practicing natural medicine and made it into a voodoo. So these doctors that are out there, they mean well, they mean to do good. Right. They haven't been taught, but there are more of them who are starting to learn that, there's other ways of doing things. It doesn't have to be like this. But I think as more people are waking up to, and looking for alternative ways of dealing with things in ways to actually protect their bodies.
Yeah, and I think when you say alternative, like why go for the alternative? Well, oftentimes the pharmaceutical that you're taking has residual effects or other toxins.
They all do. Yeah.
And so that can be the main reason why you would look for an alternative, and it might require some hard work because it's not being sent to you through the usual messages that you're getting on, commercial programming. Just before the show tonight, Colleen, Joyce and I were talking about health remedies, natural antibiotics, And although, while they don't necessarily taste good, they work well. And, so we talked about, oil of oregano.
Right.
And tea tree, was it?
Right. Also known as melaleuca.
Melaleuca. Now, let's just pause there on those two. What are, and we're not doctors. I mean, you had a guest on the other week who did a really good job at using disclaimers to say, I'm not a medical doctor and I'm not advising you to rush out and take this thing that we're going to talk about, but this is my experience and this is what we like, this is what we know about it. So let's talk a little bit about...
It's what it's done for me. I mean, I've seen the proof. It was like with the toothache thing. Right. This ain't the first time it's happened.
Yeah.
And, my husband was like, oh, you should go to the dentist. Somebody else said to me, oh, you should go to the dentist. And I'm like, what? You want me to pay $90 for the dentist to say, oh, you need an antibiotic? I already know it's what I need. He's going to tell me, he's going to give me a synthetic antibiotic, and then he's going to go ahead and he's going to tell me to take ibuprofen, to help the swelling go down. Well, turmeric is great for inflammation. So I just went to the turmeric and the oil of oregano, and I just do that. I got to the point where I make my own turmeric capsules.
You make your own?
Yeah.
So where are you getting your, is the turmeric in the grocery store spice section good enough?
If it's organic, yeah.
If it's organic.
Yeah.
And then you'll get,
I have a capsule making machine.
Right.
And I have veggie caps. And it makes a 500 milligram capsule.
Now, when we talk about inflammation, I don't even know that we all really understand what that is. We're talking about something that's, inflammation is like a swelling, but if it's not visible to the eye, like how do I know that the ache I feel in my back is about inflammation?
It's a real interesting question, and really opens up a whole big can of worms, because inflammation is the reason for a lot of our health issues.
Right.
Cancer starts with inflammation.
Yeah.
Your mom's arthritis, that's inflammation. And then that goes back to the gut bacteria. Balancing or making sure that we have good balance of gut bacteria, because 80% of our immune system is located in our gut. And antibiotics and other pharmaceutical medications destroy that gut bacteria, and it brings our immune system down, which leaves us open for inflammation and a host of other issues that we're dealing with.
I'm pretty sure I heard somebody talking about gluten being connected to inflammation in the brain, and we don't even feel that. We don't feel that the way we feel like pain in the back. It's like just how our brain is functioning, so we don't even recognize it. I don't know. This inflammation thing is huge.
A lot of people, it is, and I believe there's a lot of people walking around with inflammation and they don't even know it.
Right. So turmeric kind of helps.
Turmeric. No, it helps big time. Turmeric is like, turmeric is, and it is a natural painkiller. But you were talking about your mom having a high pain tolerance, and I do too. I had two of my children, totally natural childbirth. My first one, I had something just to take the edge off of the contractions, which didn't do a whole lot. So for the next two, I went, forget this. And my pain tolerance is pretty high, and it has to be because Krista, you know me, you know how I feel about using stuff.
Yeah.
That's not natural.
Right.
But, one thing, and that's even now, the one thing like for menstrual cramps, there's an herb called cramp bark. And that stuff is excellent.
Cramp bark?
Cramp bark. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's
what
just
is
not for,
that? Like,
it's an herb.
Okay.
But, I guess that's why they call it cramp bark, is because it could be used for cramps. But my thing is that, if you're experiencing like leg cramps and stuff like that, odds are your potassium is low.
Yeah, I always hear that, like, you know, eat a potato. But menstrual cramps, that's a different, that's a different realm. And, you know, my daughters and, you know, some women that I've worked with suffer severely with cramps, like just so bad. And yet I haven't heard of this cramp bark. So I think that's a really good tip. So it's really something to look into.
Oh, Vanessa wants to know how you would treat an ear infection for an 8-year-old. You know, I'm not gonna, I'll tell you something, Vanessa, I pretty much stay away from, you know, first off, I'm not a medical doctor, so, you know, all I could say is that, again, an ear infection, that is an infection, so you're looking at the tea tree oil and the, yeah, just what you said, use the tea tree oil with cotton swab. And, you know, also looking at the turmeric for releasing that inflation, because if there's an infection, there's inflation.
Yeah.
But, you know, I
can't
say anything though about the dose. That's the, you know, that's the only reason, yeah, that's the only reason why I kind of stay away from saying anything about kids, is because when we got into this lifestyle, all my kids were older at that point.
Well, when my kids were little, one of the you know, I was really big on preventive. You know, I would give them vitamin C, you know, emulsified cod liver oil, and but when they did have, you know, something that it was an infection, we had little bits of golden seal, you know, and I know golden seal can be tough on the stomach, but we would just have like a little bit of it, and they started to like the taste of it, even because they believed that it was helping to make them well.
You know, you brought up a really good point, prevention. That's the biggest thing, and that's what I'm a big advocate of, is let's prevent it so we don't have the issue. Right. And Vanessa, actually, what was it in the last magazine, Krista, that we had the how to prevent ear infections?
Oh, let me take
was it an October, November issue?
I will take a look. But yeah, we did talk about ears. Okay.
Yeah. You know, and you know, you're talking about prevention. One of the things that I go to as far as like preventing is if somebody gets sick in the household, and it doesn't happen. We haven't been sick around here in, 2 years now. But one of the first things that I go to, if there's any sign of an infection or any kind of illness, of course, we're looking at the immune system. So I have elderberry elixir that I've made. And I like the elixir because it lasts longer. It'll stay on the shelf for a long time.
Oh, so, longer than the syrup, you're saying? Because I'm getting ready to make some elderberry syrup. The elixir uses a little bit of alcohol?
No.
No.
Yeah, okay. Oh, the elixir does. The elixir does. You can use like vodka, you could use brandy, or even you could use vegetable glycerin. But I chose to use vodka because of the fact that it helps to keep the life longer. But you need to store it in a glass jar, like a dark blue or amber, because it helps to seal in those medicinal properties. And then you want to keep it in a cool, dry place. You don't want to have it someplace warm and hot.
I'm taking a look at the October-November issue. We do have an article there, right, from Dr. Deepa Sanidhi. She's an MD in preventive medicine, resident in San Diego, California, with a master's in public health and epidemiology from San Diego. And
Colleen wants to know if we want a break.
Oh, okay. We'll take a break, but we can talk about these preventive ear troubles.
Okay.
And just, real quickly, just zinc supplements is what's being recommended in the article, that there's not a lot of adverse effects, but it may be that zinc can help.
Well, with zinc, the only thing is that it can be very drying So you want to drink plenty of liquids because it will give you dry mouth bad.
What is that?
Zinc.
Zinc.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My husband just started taking that.
So now we will go into break. Remember what you want to talk about. Make notes.
It's your life. Just get it done now. Joyce and Krista talking about the current issue of It's Your Life mag. Lots of wonderful articles, wonderful contributors, experts in their fields, and we'll be back after the break.
Alrighty, we are back.
We're back. You're listening to It's Your Life. Just get it done now with Joyce and Krista.
Hello. All right.
So,
we're back.
Krista, we were talking about the ear infections, and I had suggested about preventing them, and you looked up the article that was in the October-November issue.
Yeah, and there are some suggestions in there for prevention, but really for very young children, early age, about some things not to do, and things to look for. Not so much what to do once you've got an infection. You know,
right, but we were talking that, these are things that we need to know though, because I don't want to get sick.
Right.
I want to prevent getting sick.
I like prevention also.
So tell us, what are some of the ways that people can prevent their children from getting ear infections?
Well, this comes from Dr. Deepa Sanidhi, who's a MD, preventive medicine resident at UC San Diego, California, and she talks about, the very first thing that she mentions is to stop smoking, to quit smoking. So if someone is smoking in the household, that's going to contribute to the onset of things like, ear infections. She says,
well, what if they go outside and smoke?
She simply says that tobacco smoke can increase the risk of infections in children. So, yeah, if you're not smoking around the kids, then I guess that would help. But she says that tobacco smoke does stick to clothes and hair, which the baby can breathe in. So in her opinion, quitting is still better than if you go outside to smoke. She actually says that's a quote.
So if you can't quit, like me, maybe what we need to do is actually I have, now that it's cooler out, I have a sweater that I wear when I go outside to smoke, but that's the only time that I wear it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they want to have clothes that they smoke in, and
that might help. It might help. She mentions hair too, so I guess you got to come in and shampoo your hair before you pick up your baby.
No, I got it. What you do is you go get one of those shower caps.
A shower cap, a bathing cap.
So when you go outside, you put that on so the smoke doesn't get in your hair.
I did talk to a woman recently who said she used to smoke with a big rubber glove on because she just didn't like the smell that it would leave on her hands. So but again, maybe it's a good time to quit. It's just an idea.
Right, but I've tried before, and
it's tough.
It's like,
it's tough. Yeah.
It's like after 5 hours, you don't want to be around me.
Got it. Yeah.
So just looking at it from a smoker's perspective, I'm trying to think of, somebody who's like, oh, I can't do that. But there are some things that you could do, like with your clothing. Have a shirt that you just smoke in.
Yeah. Take it off before you hug your kids.
Right, exactly. Wash your hands after you get done smoking, which is something that I started doing when Randy's grandson would come over every time, and I continue to do that now. It's like every time I have a cigarette now, I have to wash my hands.
This is very interesting. I don't think a lot of people think of these things. They would do them if they knew about it. I bet there are a lot of people like, I smoke, I'm outside, I won't smoke in the house, I won't smoke around my kids. But they may not think about these residual, on the hands or in the hair or on the clothing.
Exactly. I know I did with my kids, and my youngest one has asthma, and I don't wonder if it's my fault.
Yeah.
Because I smoke in the house.
Well, here's another good one, Joyce. Outside of smoking, this is something I know a lot of parents do, and that's bottle propping. And the last issue of the magazine, the second tip was to avoid bottle propping, letting the baby go to bed with a bottle in his or her mouth, That's been associated with recurrent ear infections. And it's also bad for the baby's teeth, she says.
Right. That's true, and I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
That's a really tough one, because I used to bottle prop with my daughter, and she did have a lot of ear infections.
See, there's a testament right there.
Right, but the thing is, at the same time, it's like, how many babies do you know that go to bed that fall asleep while they're drinking their bottle? It's like, I mean, I would take it away when I knew she was sleeping, but that's what babies do. They're drinking their milk and then they go to
fall off to sleep. Yeah, that's what they do. Like when they're nursing, they get full and they drift off to sleep.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to say, and that's one reason I think that nursing is the best. And I had a really hard time nursing my first two, but my last one, I was very successful with, and I nursed him for 1.5 years. Now he did not have the ear infection.
Wow.
And what else is very interesting is that the kid absorbs information. He's a sponge. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but I'm just saying. So what else you got there, Krista?
Another tip she has is avoiding the pacifier.
Why? Does she say why?
She just says in the second 6 months of life, it might reduce the risk of ear infection. Nothing more beyond that.
Really?
I wasn't a fan of the pacifier, only because I wanted my children to learn how to self-soothe, how to calm themselves down and not have to have like an oral fixation. But I think people, it seems to have swung the other way now. I think a lot of mothers are in favor of the pacifier. Am I wrong?
I'll tell you something. My first two were really hard. They were night owls. They're still night owls. They like to be up at night. And in order for me to sleep, I had a stepson who was in school. And so I needed to sleep to be up in the morning to make sure he was up. Mm-hmm. And if I wanted them to sleep, I had to give them a pacifier. Otherwise, I was up. But I will tell you this. I did take it away before they were 1. It was like, okay,
yeah,
time to get rid of it. Because I just don't, I see no reason. I've seen like 2-year-olds walking around with a pacifier.
Yeah, lots of kids. I don't know. I don't know. I think I have to look into this a little bit. I think, or maybe somebody could help us call in, or somebody in the chat room. It seems like the pendulum has swung the other way, where now people are saying, baby, give the baby a pacifier. When I was, I had 5 children, natural childbirth, and nursed all of my babies. The last 2 I could only nurse on one side. I went through a lot of stuff. I didn't get to nurse anybody as, long term. Like I didn't nurse my children till they were like 3 and 4 years old.
I didn't personally. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of it, discussion about that, like the benefit, the pros and cons of that. But they didn't have ear infections, and they were all very healthy kids.
Well, let me ask you this, Krista, because like I said, my last one, I nursed him for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And he had this thing that he used to like to stick his hand down my shirt. Not all the way. So I'm wondering, did your kids do that too?
No, they didn't. But
it was like a comfort. It seemed to be a comfort thing for him.
Oh, it makes sense, because that's where his comfort was. I think like the older the kids get, the more they can do. I mean, my sister nursed her daughter, I think she was around 2 years old, and she would just like lift her mom's shirt up, and it's time for a drink. And anyway, I mean, the more they could do. My children, I was working. They were probably 6 to 8 months old when I returned to work full time. I was pumping breast milk and storing it so that they had breast milk, but they were getting it through the bottle. So, so that might make a difference, with what they were able to do in terms of like their motor skills and reaching into my shirt and, but that's my story. I could give them breast milk, but I couldn't nurse them, you know.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Now, another thing was that when, like, my mom or my daughter would hold the youngest one, he also would stick his hand down their shirt.
Oh, that's so cute.
Again, it wasn't all the way. It was just, it seemed to be a comfort thing from him.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It makes total sense. It's like,
but it was kind of awkward.
Well, I'm sure, but it makes sense.
No, only in public. Because, like, we would be out at the grocery store, and you know, I might be holding him, and all of a sudden there's a hand going down the shirt, and it's like, you know, I don't think this is a good thing to be doing in public. But you know, I mean, that's the thing too. Why shouldn't it be? It's not like he was grabbing me. He just put his hand down my shirt and had it on my chest.
It's so cute. I can just picture this little baby. I mean, it's a connection thing. It's about, you know, mother and child bonding.
Right.
And a lot of mothers would, you know, I mean, when you think about that, like on that being on the one end with this closeness with mother and child, and on the other end, you know, a woman, you know, not wanting to discourage that and all of the damage that does in terms of the bonding. You know, I'd rather have a child putting his hand under his mother's shirt than being completely detached from mom and, you know, all the long-term repercussions that come from that. I think that's another wonderful show topic for us, is like, you know, childbirth, you know, pregnancy and nursing and bonding and parenting.
Well, and
that's about 10 different shows.
Sure. You know, and our society, though, has made it such a voodoo for a mother to nurse in public. It's like, you know, a lot of places they don't have places where a mom can nurse. You have to go in the bathroom. Well, you know, why don't you go in the bathroom and eat your lunch? You know?
Right.
You can take your lunch in the bathroom and go eat. Why should I nurse my baby in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I be allowed? I mean, I'm not flaunting anything. You know, I'm covered up, and if you're appalled because this is what they were created for. They weren't created for man's pleasure. They were created to nourish our children.
To nourish the children. I always have a baby blanket with me, and the baby blanket would cover me and my child, and I would nurse wherever I was.
Right.
But I was mindful of how other people might feel, children, mixed company. I wasn't that confident or, you know, uninhibited to be in public and bare my bosom, you know.
Well, neither was I. But I mean, even if somebody feels comfortable doing that, I don't think that, you know, it should be shunned.
Exactly. And I applaud women who are more comfortable, you know, I mean, listen, when I was having my children, we still didn't have the fashion that women have now with, like, it's okay to show the pregnant belly. I mean, we were still wearing clothes that, like, hung wide, big and wide, so just sort of like, you know, big A-line or, you know, whatever it's called, kind of a maternity wear that could have expand as you got larger and hung way out. You know, now you have form-fitting. It's okay. You know, I have a baby in my body. You know, I'm growing a human being. I applaud women. I applaud the new age like that where, you know, we don't have to hide it.
I don't think it's a matter of hiding it. I mean, constricting clothes are actually not good for us because they hinder our lymph nodes.
Well, I don't know if they're constricting as much as they are, you know, it's okay to reveal it. I didn't like anything constricted. I just physically didn't like pantyhose or anything that was tight around my midsection because it just was uncomfortable. But I think the fashions have changed. One of the things I really applaud are places of work where they designate lactation rooms. So, like, you know, when I was in the public bathroom at work, you know, pumping for breast milk. Now, I wouldn't really, I'd rather be in another kind of room than a room where people are in stalls going to the bathroom, you know. But now, if you work in a certain place that's mindful of, and it's lactation, it's not just for mothers, it's for fathers too, it's for nursing baby, I think that I applaud that. I think that's wonderful. It's a room that is to be private and quiet, so that you can nurse your child.
Well, here's some comments that I'm reading in the chat room.
Yeah.
Vanessa said that she had an uncle that breastfed until he was 5, and she said that he was the happiest person that she ever knew. And I like this one from Nancy. Nancy says that her mom had 10 kids, breastfed them all. One kid asked, what is in those things? Another answered, that one has meat and that one is potatoes.
Meat and potatoes, that's funny.
I love that.
Speaking of meat and potatoes, one of the things you might want to talk about is like what are the good foods for, lactating, a nursing mother. What are the good, because a lot of what a mother eats and takes in, ingests, is going to come through the breast milk.
Well, and it's not just that, it's how you feel. A friend of mine, she has one that she just weaned that she was nursing. Actually, 2 of hers, her 3-year-old was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and then the second one has had all kinds of health issues since he was born. And she's got onto this natural living lifestyle, and has realized that not only was it what she was eating and not eating, but also her emotions.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why, topic number 205 for this show is about, a mother's health, oh my gosh, while she's expecting, the trauma, the stress, I think everything is just so important about, the emotional connection, while you're expecting, while you have the baby, while you're raising children. Oh my gosh, the emotional, influence.
Well, and children pick up on that.
Oh, completely. And totally.
They pick up those vibrations from us, and our DNA is so connected.
Absolutely. There was a ad in a magazine. I don't know if it was Time or Newsweek, long time ago. They had this beautiful graphic illustration. If anybody listening to this show or in the chat room is aware of this illustration that I'm about to talk about, knows where I could, get a link to it or from an archive, I'm eternally grateful. But there was a graphic that showed a mother nursing, and how it wasn't just about the breast milk. It was about, they showed, the graphic showed all of these other waves of connection that were happening between mother and child. All of these different waves of influence. What can we call them? I don't know. They're electrons and protons moving between mother and child that were all about emotion and impact and influence and, eye contact. And it was just extraordinary because it was, in a snapshot, you could see that this wasn't just about food. It was
right.
about so much more that was happening. And,
right.
and it's natural to think that continues beyond the time of nursing, when you're together with your children. And I think that, we can't really say enough about these things because they're so important. Who was it that said that their uncle was the happiest person they ever knew? He breastfed. And that's kind of funny, but there may be some science behind that too. And, it's about, immune system, healthy body and healthy, emotional system and psychology and mental development. And, I love talking about this, and we should really encourage people. I'd love to know for people who are listening, if they'd like to hear more about this. I think we should have some guests on, and we could talk about our birth experiences, raising children, what we know to be true that we don't see reflected in commercial media about parenting and the whole range from conception, birthing, pregnancy, postpartum, raising children. I don't think there's anything more important to talk about.
Oh, I'll agree because I'll agree because of the fact that they're our future, you know, and for me as a homeschool mom, one thing that I have seen with my kids is that they're very close. They're very close. When one of them, because they were always together, and when one of them would go away, like my daughter's 5 years older than my middle child. So when she would go away to camp, he would be asking, where is she? Where is she? When is she coming back? When is she coming back? They were always keeping tabs on each other. Always wanted to know, always wanted to know where the other one was, what are they doing, when are they coming back? And they have a very tight bond, the three of them. So, you know, that's one thing too that I'd like to talk more about because I see schools as institutions. I see them as a way for the government to break up the family. And now with Common Core, my husband, his oldest son, his oldest son is in school now doing this Common Core math, and he can't even help him do it because he doesn't understand it. So what they're doing now is they're taking over our children. And wait,
Joyce, before you say another word, I don't know what Common Core is, and maybe somebody else doesn't know either. What's Common Core? Curriculum?
Yeah, the Common Core curriculum.
Okay.
That a lot of states are using.
They're using that with the homeschooling, or is it homeschool and private charter? What is it? What are we talking about?
No, it's a school system, the public school system.
Okay.
And Colleen just made a comment that also makes kids think their parents are stupid, and she's right. Sure. Because now he can't help him with his homework, and this whole time, you know, we're talking about raising kids. Our kids, you know, we're there to protect them. We're their safety net. You know, we're everything to them. And now all of a sudden they go to school and they're being taught this new Common Core that mom and dad don't understand. Well, it's like, well, what do you know?
Oh, well, look, there's nothing new about that. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, my parents talking about where there's the new math. I mean, there's always something new about the way kids are being taught, and the parents are sort of like out of the loop.
But that's what they want.
Okay. And then that's exacerbated because when your children are like moving into the teenage years, they're kind of looking at their parents as being like old fuddy-duddies, and they're kind of outdated. And, you know, you don't know as much as I do because I'm a teenager with all of my raging hormones, and I just discovered, you know, sliced bread and the Milky Way, you know. So, I mean,
that was another thing. That was another thing I didn't go through with the boys. Now, my daughter, she went all 4 years of high school to a public school, and that was only because she was 13 when I met Randy and we got married, and her dad had been gone for over a year because he died in 2004. Randy and I got married September 2005. So she felt, you know, I mean, she was being ripped away from everything and everyone that she knew and being brought to another state. And she was very, very angry. And we went from the city life to living in the middle of nowhere. So, you know.
Big changes, yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I felt that she was very level-headed. I felt that she could handle going to school. So I let her. But, you know, I say this, I lost my daughter twice because of the public school system. I lost her once when I sent her to school. Originally, she went for kindergarten and the majority of first grade. And I had sent off this child, and by the time I got her back from the school system, she was totally different than what she was before. And then it happened again. And then it happened again when I allowed her to go to high school. I saw a change in her. She changed. She was different. Now the boys did not go to public high school. Well, my middle one wanted to, but I wouldn't allow it because he's very influential, and he picks the wrong people to look up to.
Oh, he's very impressionable.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would not. I did not allow him to go to high school, but and I had brought this up for a reason. There was something that you had said.
Right. Well, you know, we were talking about what, parenting and what our children are exposed to. And I was talking about teenagers, your parents don't know anything about smart.
See, I did not go through that even though my oldest went to public school, I did not go through that with any of my kids, thinking that, that I was stupid.
Yeah. Well, now, on the one hand, I think that's wonderful. And then I think about some parents who are raising their kids and they don't know everything, and the kids can go to school and learn things that their parents never did learn, So on the one hand, I don't approve of a situation where you have some sort of institution turning their children against the parents when the parents are supposed to be the champions,
But that's what they do.
Teachers.
I mean,
I agree with that. And I agree with that. And on the other hand, you may have a situation where you've got parents who are isolated and don't know about how people live on the other side of the world. And the kids get to go to school and learn about how other people live and open their minds to this, So, I think there are benefits to learning things outside of your household.
Oh, I agree.
Learning things beyond of whatever it is your parents learned.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and on the other hand, but I don't like the idea of the, divisiveness, or is that the right pronunciation? Like, when your family is divided on itself.
But, I drive my son to work in the morning, and I look at these little kids that are being ushered off on the school buses, and I'm like, no, that's your child. Raise them. And the thing is that, there are people who are in situations like with you being a single mom, and you had 5 kids. It would be hard for you to homeschool. But at the same time, I see families who are in a situation like yours, and they really want to homeschool, and they start bringing in other family members. Wow. I know back in Tennessee, there was a family who had 2 kids. They were homeschooling, and different family members had different strengths. So you had grandpa maybe teaching them science and, grandma teaching them English, and they pulled in different family members who had different strengths, and they made it work. And both of these parents worked. They didn't need to. That's a totally other topic that I could totally go off on a tangent about. Mm-hmm. But, people who, if they really want to homeschool, they can find ways to make it work. And there's homeschool groups. And for a while I didn't have, we weren't involved in one, but if anybody homeschools, I highly recommend getting into a homeschool support group because of the fact that when I had taken my daughter out of school, she started to feel like, she was the only one on our block that was being homeschooled. So
yeah,
she felt
I get it. You wanted to be with a group for the socializing and the peer bonding. I'm totally into this. I think if I had an opportunity now, if I was raising young children, this is what I would be longing to do. This is really what I'd be longing to do because I'm so unhappy with the trauma that occurs in schools, the bullying, the unhappiness. I accepted it as part of, when you think that's that's the only option.
Right.
You say, well, they'll be tough. It'll build character. They'll learn about themselves. They'll learn about other people. This is good training because when you go into the world of work, you're going to be working with terrible people and you will have figured out how to deal with them based on what you encountered in the schoolyard. And I have a lot to say about that. On the other hand, my goodness, if I had a different option and I could spare my children all of that heartache, because I believe a lot goes on in schools that, it's just horrible. People say, what's that? Go ahead, Joyce.
My daughter, I'll tell you why I ended up taking her out of school. First off, I did want to homeschool, but I only have an 8th grade education. So I felt like I did get my GED, but I felt like I wasn't qualified to teach her and didn't know all the rules and everything that went along with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had sent her to school, and in first grade, I sent this poor child off crying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's crying,
Oh, I know.
Getting
I
emotional.
understand. Yeah, because it is really a big deal, and I think we have yet to really find a way, something that really makes sense.
But
I know exactly what you meant. I know exactly what you mean.
But what started happening was after Christmas break, she started complaining at bedtime that her stomach hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she was just procrastinating,
Mm-hmm.
That she just didn't want to go sleep. And I told my husband, I said, you know what, I'm going to take her to the doctor because if something really is wrong, I'm going to feel bad for not. It turned out she was developing an ulcer at 6 years old.
Oh, yeah. I have a daughter like that, too. That's exactly
crazy.
She'd go to school. The first thing they had was a math question on the board, and they had to figure out and she felt so intimidated by math. And so the answer was to put her on ulcer medicine because she had these stomach aches. Same exact situation. Trauma, stress.
Right.
And I hear a whole chorus of people saying, "Oh, it's just what you have to go through. Send that kid to school, make them toughen up, deal with it." I think it's why a lot of people wind up, if they're lucky, on the therapist's couch dealing with what's wrong. It's not just what happened from mama and papa. It's what happened at school.
Well, even not just in school, even though Brittany was homeschooled, when we went to the homeschool support group, a lot of them had been in there since they were really young and knew each other, and she had a really hard time fitting in. So she still, there were still issues there too. Because, let's face it, kids are kids.
Kids are kids.
And they're cruel.
They can be, absolutely.
And no matter how well they're raised, and I could vouch for this because my middle one was a bully. He was to the point to where I hated to take him anywhere. It was embarrassing.
Really?
Yes.
He just naturally inclined, just wanted to bully other kids.
Yes. And even when we lived in Chicago, I was constantly having parents knocking on my door about my child. And actually it's funny because him and I were just talking about this today. And the best thing I had is that there was another homeschool mom that I knew, and she had seen my middle child, and she told me, she said, I had one just like him.
Mm-hmm.
She said, but let me tell you something. He grew up to be a wonderful young man.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So it gave me hope, but she told me that because of the way he behaved, she wouldn't even take him anywhere at all.
Mm-hmm. Good for that mom. So Joyce, so what do you know as a result of this? Okay. So this is really wonderful. So you had a child who liked to bully. You have any idea where he got that from? Like why he wanted? Was it just like genetically, disposed to wanting? He just had that tendency. How do you explain that, and how did you deal with it?
The way I explain it is after learning about things, because personally I believe in being self-taught. I don't believe that I need somebody else to teach me anything. I don't believe I need a school system to teach me nor to teach my children. I believe children are curious and they will learn what they want to learn. But what I had learned was that the traits that my son was showing were traits of a leader. And what I had to do was learn how to talk to him. And, and I would tell him, I would say, because there was no reason for him to be doing this bullying. And it wasn't just people outside of the house. It was his own brother. And that was a big issue for me because I felt like this is supposed to be his safe haven. And here he has his own brother bullying him. This ain't right. This ain't cool. And, I had, when I finally started learning that Brandon's problem was that he was a leader. He wanted to be in charge. He wanted to be the boss. And if things didn't go the way he wanted them to go, he would lash out. So when I learned this, then I started talking to him, and telling him that, you know what, Brandon, I see that you have the ability to be a really good leader, and started talking to him about what a leader was. A leader's not a dictator. A leader is somebody who listens to other people and takes their ideas along with their own ideas and puts them together to do something great.
How old was Brandon when you were talking to him this way?
Wow. 8, 9.
Mm-hmm. So he could understand what you were saying.
Yeah, and he was very proud of the fact that he was a leader. But he was still having a problem with keeping that under control.
And what about the younger brother? How did you protect the younger brother?
Well, it was really hard in Chicago because we lived in a basement apartment. Mm-hmm. So, and it was a small space, so it was hard. But when we moved to Tennessee, we had 3 floors. So what I would do is I would separate them. I would leave one of them down in the basement. That's where they had a TV and they had their game systems and stuff. And then upstairs on the main level, of course, we had another TV. So I would separate them so that one was upstairs and one was downstairs. If it got really bad, I had learned, because one thing I learned with Brandon is, I believe in spanking. Mm-hmm. But I believe in controlled spanking. I never spanked my children out of anger.
Right.
I would even tell them, I would say, you know what, I am really bad right now, and you just need to go away from me, because if you stay here, I don't know what I'm going to do, so please just go. Or I would just remove myself from the situation until I calm down. Mm-hmm. But I always felt I didn't spank for everything. I felt that the consequences needed to suit whatever they did. But with Brandon, spanking didn't work. He didn't care.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I had I'm like, what's going on? Well, then finally, I decided one day to put him in his bedroom and just isolate him from everybody. He hated it. He did not like it. And people were like, but he has his toys. I'm like, he doesn't care.
He couldn't bully anybody because there's nobody around. But
it wasn't just that. Brandon's, he's a very social person.
Well,
he loves to socialize.
That's part of it. I mean, the downside is the bullying, but he clearly liked the engagement.
Oh, yeah, he did.
But here's something I think is really interesting, because when my children were little, do you know what the doctors were recommending for that kind of home situation? You got a kid who's very strong, has leadership potential, but right now it looks like bullying, and there's a sibling that might be suffering as a result. That older kid got put on Ritalin.
No.
And
they tried to do something.
A lot of kids in the mid-'80s were all getting drugged. Ritalin became the answer. Just like we talked about the ibuprofen, the pill to stop the pain. Well, this is a family dynamic. There's a pain going on here. And some parents, not like you, Joyce, trying to, figure out how can I look at the positive aspects and bring this out in my child, and while protecting the younger child, and how can we arrange things? And it might be difficult while we're in a cramped space. Some other parents were going with the doctor's recommendation to drug the kid who was the more of the aggressor. And this was a benefit to teachers. The teacher,
right.
Now this kid just sits still in his seat, and he's not punching his little brother. And,
I'm sorry, but Colleen just said kids are still being drugged. Heard the other day about a doctor wanting to put a 2-year-old on Ritalin.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
The thing is, too, is that what I've realized is that, this is the way these kids are created. My stepson was put on Ritalin, and if I would have known then what I know now, I would have never allowed it. But the thing is that these kids, they're very smart.
That's right.
And actually, a lot of what their problem is that they're bored.
Yep. And you know what? I'm glad that you're talking about this, because there may be people who are listening who feel a lot of guilt about choosing the Ritalin. I don't know. Maybe some people feel that Ritalin really did save their families, and I'd love to hear from them too. But the only point I wanted to bring up at this moment is that a lot of families didn't know that they had other options, or that there were other ways to go, that they were sort of like encouraged to go with the drugs.
But at the same time though, Krista, we're brainwashed to believe that our government cares about us, that they're doing right by us, that these drugs are good for us, that they're helping us. That the doctors that we're seeing, they want to do good by us. And I'm sure that a lot of the doctors do, but again, that's not how they're trained. They're trained by a curriculum that is set up by the elite. And the elite don't care nothing about us. To us, we're just a bunch of ants that they would like to crush beneath their feet. So we have a whole society that, what we call sheeple, that are just going.
Sheeple.
Yeah, they're sheeple. You never heard that term?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they're sheeple.
I haven't heard that term before.
Yeah, they're sheeple. Yeah, we have a bunch of sheeple in the world that are just going ahead and doing what they're told to do. And it's just like, we have to take back our lives and quit thinking that we don't know what's best for our children. We are their parents. Who knows my child better than me? And that was another thing with me homeschooling too. Who's going to love my child the way that I do? Who's going to care about my child the way that I do? No teacher is. That's not their child. Yes, they might care. Yes, they might be a really good teacher, and I've seen some of them out there, but they're still not me. And they've got 30 kids that they're tending to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where I could sit there, and I know how they learn. Like my middle one, he was a hands-on learner. And my daughter, I had realized that she learned like I do. You go ahead and you speak to me and you tell me what I'm supposed to do. You know what I hear? Wah, 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 wah. Like on Charlie Brown. That's why they did that. I finally realized that's what they did it, because that's what we sound like to kids. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, all day long.
Right. So if you tell me about something.
You get the sense of, you have a sense of empowerment, a strong sense of I don't know that, I think there are a lot of parents who have a big question mark. They don't believe that they really know what's best. I mean, they were able to, produce the child, but they don't feel that they have the confidence to know. You just said, I know how my children learn. We're talking about a sensitivity, a mindfulness. I take it for granted. You take it for, I had someone comment to my mother, paying attention to me, saying, boy, she really knows her children. I thought that's how all parents were, but maybe it's not, Joyce. And so,
it's
you
not.
we have to think about that a little bit. And I know that we're coming up on the hour, and I just want to remind people that it's your life. Just get it done now. Where, we talk about a natural lifestyle and taking action. It's the two worlds combined about how to live naturally and how to, have confidence and manifest your dreams,
Right.
It's been a wonderful combination of things. We were talking about the current issue of It's Your Life magazine, and we just got through a couple of the first couple of articles and even stepped back to a previous issue. I want everyone who knows anyone who's dealing with rheumatoid arthritis to take a look at the current issue. There's an article, Healing from Rheumatoid Arthritis, One Man's Journey to be Pain-Free. Joyce, you interviewed someone.
Yes.
Can we just,
I did.
Rheumatoid arthritis, we're talking about a lot of pain. I don't want to switch topics like abruptly, but I know we have a lot of issues coming up. I think we should devote a whole, a session to parenting and to childbirth and to nursing. I just want to touch on this rheumatoid arthritis article for a moment. You wrote this article.
Yes.
You interviewed these people.
Yes.
They were, tell us something. We don't have to use steroids. I mean, what happened here?
As a matter of fact, that gentleman works at a local health store that I go to, and he is a RN, and he was, being told, well, first off, he didn't know it was wrong, and then when he did, he was being told what he had to do for it. He didn't want to do the steroids. He didn't want to do the meds because, he's got one foot in the traditional medical system and another in the Western medical system. So he knows both sides of the coin. And his whole goal was just to find out, why this is happening. And actually, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. And, that has to do with the immune system. So we're going back to the immune system. The majority of the health problems that people deal with today are because of our immune systems.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And once you start, so he learned, what he did was he came up with a protocol. And I was supposed to call him today, and I didn't. He's going to be on the show actually next month, and he's going to be talking about the different things that he took, and oil of oregano is one of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's part of the protocol is the oil of oregano.
That's so cool. We start out talking about oil of oregano. Oh.
But there's it's a 9-week program that people go through, and actually, if you want to find out, I mean, I believe anything that you're dealing with, odds are it's your immune system, which goes back to the gut bacteria. But if you want to do a little test on yourself, for 10 days, eliminate sugar, eliminate gluten, eliminate nuts, eliminate dairy, and eliminate grains. And if you start to feel better, then you know it's a gut issue. It's 8:00 and we have to go. This has been wonderful. And we have another show on Sunday.
Oh, just begging I know we're at the top. Just that list again. Eliminate. Do it again, please.
No sugar, no dairy, no gluten, no grains, no nuts for 10 days.
Okay.
And if you start to feel better, then right there is telling you it's a gut issue. It's because your gut bacteria is off.
Okay. All right. We're back on Sunday?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What time?
4 to 6 your time.
4 o'clock on the East Coast? 3 o'clock time?
3 to 5 3 to 5 Central.
Okay. What are we talking about?
I don't know. We continue this conversation.
Okay. Colleen?
Yes?
You're coming in there.
I am, and I just wanted to let everybody know that they are listening to Wolf Spirit Radio as well as Haggy Shack Radio. And gonna put on your outro now.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.